Hello guys, welcome back to Clara Vayne. I have a new Reddit story for you guys today. But before we start, if you want a shout out in my next video, just comment your name below. And trust me, today's story made me question every friendship I've ever had, because I genuinely don't know how someone can smile in your face for years while secretly destroying your entire life behind your back. The moment I realized something was wrong, I was standing in my kitchen at 2 in the morning holding my boyfriend's phone while my hands literally shook so hard I almost dropped it. My chest felt tight, my ears were ringing, and I couldn't stop staring at a message that said, "She still has no idea, LOL." At first, I thought he was cheating on me, and honestly, that would have hurt less than what I found out a few minutes later, because the person texting him wasn't some random girl. It was my best friend, Ava, the same girl who had slept over at my house every weekend since freshman year, the same girl who cried on my shoulder after her parents divorced, the same girl who used to call my mom her second mom. And somehow, in that moment, I already knew my life was about to split into a before and after. I met Ava when we were 14. We were both awkward, insecure, and obsessed with the same dumb vampire show everyone at school made fun of. She sat next to me in biology class and whispered, "If I failed this test, I'm jumping out the window." I laughed so hard, milk came out of my nose during lunch. And after that, we became inseparable. We did everything together, matching Halloween costumes, late-night FaceTimes, crying over boys who didn't know we existed, all of it. People literally called us twins, even though we looked nothing alike. She was blonde, loud, confident, the kind of girl who could walk into a room and immediately own it. I was quieter, more anxious. I overthought everything, but somehow we balanced each other out. At least, that's what I thought. Looking back now, there were signs everywhere, tiny moments I ignored because I trusted her more than anyone. Like when I'd tell her about a crush and suddenly the guy would stop talking to me a week later, or when rumors about me would randomly spread at school, but Ava somehow always heard them first. I used to think she was protecting me. I used to think she was the only person on my side. When I turned 17, things in my life actually started getting better. My family moved into a nicer house, I got my first car, and I started dating this guy named Tyler. He was funny in this stupid, sarcastic way that made me laugh even when I was angry. The first time he came over, Ava kept teasing me non-stop. "Oh my God, you're blushing so hard," she said while throwing popcorn at me from my couch. Tyler laughed and said, "She does that every time I look at her." I remember feeling so happy that night. Like, for once my life felt normal, stable, safe. But Ava got weird after that. Not immediately, it was subtle. She'd make little comments disguised as jokes. "Tyler's definitely your type because you love emotionally unavailable men." Or she'd say stuff like, "You're lucky he likes personality because you barely wear makeup." Everyone would laugh, including me, because I thought she was kidding. But eventually, those comments started sticking in my head. I became insecure around him. I started comparing myself to every girl he followed online. I'd spend an hour getting ready to just go to the movies because I kept hearing Ava's voice in my head telling me I wasn't pretty enough. Then things started happening that made no sense. Tyler and I would make plans, but somehow they'd always get ruined. One night, he got mad because he thought I ignored his texts all day, except I never got any texts. Another time, I showed up to his basketball game and he acted cold toward me the entire night because apparently I had told Ava I didn't care enough to come, which was insane because I literally skipped work to be there. Every misunderstanding somehow traced back to her, but every single time she had an explanation ready. "Oh my God, I must have misunderstood what you meant. Wait, seriously? That's not what Tyler told me. I'm literally trying to help you guys." And because she was my best friend, I believed her. The worst part is that she knew exactly how to manipulate me because she knew all my insecurities. She knew I was terrified of being abandoned. My dad left when I was little, and ever since then, I've had this constant fear that people secretly hate me and are just waiting for a reason to leave. Ava knew that better than anyone, so whenever Tyler and I fought, she'd comfort me while quietly making everything worse. I remember crying in her room one night after Tyler canceled our date because he said he needed space. Ava wrapped a blanket around my shoulders and sighed dramatically. I mean, I don't want to say this, but lately he acts like he's embarrassed of you. The second she said it, my stomach dropped. What do you mean? I asked. She hesitated just long enough to make it real. Nothing, forget it. I begged her to tell me, and eventually she said Tyler apparently complained I was too clingy and emotional. I cried the whole drive home that night. A week later, I apologized to Tyler for being too much, and the confusion on his face still haunts me. He literally said, "What are you talking about?" But somehow, Ava convinced me he was lying to avoid hurting my feelings. By senior year, my mental health was a mess. I stopped trusting myself. Every situation felt confusing. Every relationship felt unstable. I'd constantly ask people if they were mad at me. My anxiety got so bad, I started throwing up before school presentations. Meanwhile, Ava acted like the supportive best friend everyone wished they had. She'd post pictures of us together with captions like, "Forever my soulmate." People adored her. Teachers loved her. My mom loved her. And honestly, I think that's why nobody noticed what she was doing to me. Then came the college situation. This is where everything started to fall apart. I got accepted into my dream school in Chicago. It wasn't some Ivy League or anything, but it was the one thing I genuinely wanted for myself. I cried when I opened the acceptance email. My mom cried too. Ava hugged me and screamed so loudly my dog started barking. She kept saying how proud she was of me, but something about her smile felt off, like it didn't reach her eyes. A few weeks later, I found out Ava had been rejected from the same school. After that, her behavior got even stranger. She became weirdly competitive about everything. If I bought a dress, she bought a better one. If someone complimented me, she immediately redirected attention to herself. One night at a party, a guy told me I had pretty eyes, and Ava literally interrupted to say, "You should see her without mascara, though." Everyone laughed awkwardly while I just stood there smiling like an idiot because I didn't want to make things uncomfortable. But deep down, I was exhausted. And then the rumors started. At first, it was small stuff. Random people at school suddenly acting cold toward me, girls whispering when I walked past. One of my friends asked me if it was true that I cheated on Tyler at a party. I laughed because it sounded ridiculous, but apparently multiple people were saying it. Tyler heard the rumor too. He didn't accuse me directly, but I could tell it bothered him. I asked Ava if she knew where it came from, and she immediately got angry. "Why would you even ask me that?" she snapped. I apologized instantly because I felt guilty for questioning her. That's how twisted everything had become. I was apologizing to the person ruining my life without even realizing it. Then one afternoon, I walked into the bathroom at school and heard two girls talking about me in one of the stalls. One of them said, "I heard she faked a panic attack so Tyler wouldn't leave her." The other girl laughed and said, "Ava needs to stop defending her honestly." My entire body froze. I remember staring at my reflection in the mirror while my face went completely numb. Because why would Ava need to defend me unless she was the one talking about me in the first place? I wanted to confront her right there, but I didn't. Part of me was scared of the answer. Another part of me genuinely couldn't accept that my best friend would intentionally hurt me. So instead, I kept making excuses for her. Maybe people misunderstood her. Maybe someone twisted her words. Maybe I was overthinking everything again. That night, Tyler came over, and for the first time in months, we actually had a good evening together. We ordered cheap pizza, watched horror movies, and laughed until my stomach hurt. I remember thinking maybe things were finally getting better. Maybe all the drama was ending. Then Tyler fell asleep beside me on the couch, and his phone lit up. At first, I wasn't even trying to snoop, I swear, but Ava's name popped up on the screen, followed by the message, "Did you tell her yet?" My stomach immediately tightened. I stared at the phone for a few seconds, trying to convince myself not to look, but something deep inside me already knew there was something horribly wrong. So I picked up the phone, and what I found completely destroyed me. My heart was pounding so hard I could barely breathe as I unlocked Tyler's phone. I knew his password because we'd always been open with each other, but in that moment it felt wrong, like I was crossing some line I could never uncross. The second the messages loaded, I felt this wave of nausea hit me so hard, I genuinely thought I was going to throw up right there on the living room floor. Because it wasn't just one conversation, it was months of conversations, hundreds of messages, screenshots, voice notes, pictures, entire late-night conversations about me, about my relationship, about my mental health, about every insecurity I had ever trusted Ava with. And the worst part was realizing Tyler wasn't innocent either. The first message I opened was from 3 weeks earlier. Ava had sent Tyler a screenshot of me crying in our group chat after a fight with my mom. Under it, she wrote, "See what I mean? She always does this victim thing." Tyler replied, "I know, it's exhausting sometimes." I literally stopped breathing when I read that. My hands started shaking so badly the phone almost slipped out of my fingers. I kept scrolling, even though every message felt like getting stabbed in the chest. She thinks everyone leaves her eventually. You need to stop babying her. She gets obsessed with people. Honestly, I don't think she's mentally stable. I felt my throat closing up. These were my two favorite people in the world talking about me like I was some pathetic joke. And then I found the messages that explained everything. Ava had been manipulating both of us for over a year. Every misunderstanding Tyler and I had ever experienced suddenly made sense. Whenever he texted me and I ignored him, Ava had told him I was purposely playing games. Whenever I got upset about something weird he said, it turned out Ava had twisted his words before repeating them to me. She was literally creating fights between us on purpose while pretending to comfort both sides. She would tell Tyler I was insecure and dramatic, then tell me Tyler thought I was annoying, and somehow she convinced both of us that she was helping. I kept scrolling, unable to stop, even though each message hurt worse than the last. Then I found one from 4 months earlier that made my stomach drop completely. Tyler, do you think she suspects anything? Ava, no, LOL, she trusts me too much. I just stared at those words over and over. She trusts me too much, like my loyalty was some stupid weakness they laughed about behind my back. Then I found something even worse. Ava had been spreading rumors about me at school intentionally. She admitted it casually in the messages like it was funny. There was one where Tyler asked why people suddenly thought I cheated on him, and Ava replied, "I may have started that accidentally, but honestly, it made her more dependent on you, so whatever." Accidentally. She destroyed my reputation and called it an accident. I felt completely numb, like my brain couldn't process the fact that this was real life. Tyler shifted beside me in his sleep, and I physically flinched away from him. Suddenly, I couldn't even look at him without feeling sick. Then I found the message that changed everything. It was from 2 nights before. Ava, you know she's gonna freak out if she finds out about Chicago. Tyler, I know, but she can't stay there forever. Ava, good, maybe distance will finally humble her. I frowned at the screen, confused. What did Chicago have to do with anything? Then I scrolled further, and my entire world collapsed. Ava had secretly contacted someone at my college. At first, I didn't even understand what I was reading because it sounded insane. But the more I read, the clearer it became. She somehow got access to my student portal login after helping me with financial aid forms months earlier. She'd been messing with my enrollment information, canceling housing confirmations, changing contact emails, even deleting scholarship documents. Tyler knew about it too. Not only did he know, he helped her cover it up whenever I panicked about the technical issues happening with my account. I literally started crying silently on the couch while reading those messages. Not loud, dramatic crying, just tears pouring down my face while my entire body went cold. Because for months, I thought I was losing my mind. Every time something went wrong, Ava would comfort me while secretly causing it. Every time I broke down crying about my future, she'd hug me and say, "Everything happens for a reason." I kept reading. Apparently, Ava was terrified I'd leave for Chicago and become better than her. Those were her actual words. She told Tyler she felt like everyone always chose me eventually, and she was tired of being the side character. Tyler responded with, "You're overthinking it," but he still went along with everything anyway. That part hurt almost worse than Ava, because he watched her destroy me and did absolutely nothing. Then I opened the voice notes. I wish I hadn't. The first one was Ava laughing while saying, "She literally apologized to me today after I started the rumor. She's so easy to manipulate." Hearing her voice say that shattered something inside me permanently, because it sounded real, casual, like she genuinely enjoyed hurting me. Another voice note from Tyler said, "I do care about her, Ava. I just think she depends on people too much." And Ava replied, "Exactly, I'm teaching her not to." Teaching me not to? Like ruining my mental health was some kind of lesson. At that point, I couldn't stop crying. I felt humiliated, angry, betrayed, but mostly stupid. So unbelievably stupid. I thought about every time I defended Ava when people called her controlling, every time my mom warned me that the friendship felt unhealthy, every single red flag I ignored because I loved her. Then Tyler suddenly moved beside me and opened his eyes. The second he saw me holding his phone, his entire expression changed. His face went completely pale. For a few seconds, neither of us said anything. The silence felt horrifying. Then he quietly said, "You weren't supposed to see that." Not, "I'm sorry," not, "It's not what it looks like," just, "You weren't supposed to see that." I remember laughing, but it didn't even sound like me. It sounded broken. "Are you serious?" I whispered. My voice cracked halfway through. "You both ruined my life." Tyler sat up quickly and started trying to explain, but honestly, his excuses made everything worse. He kept saying Ava was going through a hard time and that he only stayed involved because he didn't know how to stop it without causing drama. Drama, that word made me snap. I started screaming at him, like full-on screaming in a way I never had before. Years of confusion and anxiety and humiliation exploded out of me all at once. I threw his phone across the room so hard it slammed into the wall. I remember yelling, "You watched me fall apart," over and over again while he kept trying to calm me down. Then he admitted something that made the entire room go silent. He said, "Ava is in love with you." I froze. For a second, I genuinely forgot how to breathe. Tyler rubbed his face and said, "You seriously never noticed?" My brain felt scrambled. Nothing made sense anymore. He explained that Ava got jealous every time I got close to someone else. Every boyfriend, every new friend, every opportunity. According to him, Ava hated the idea of me leaving because she wanted me emotionally dependent on her forever. She wanted to stay the most important person in my life forever. And somehow that realization hurt even more, because suddenly years of behavior clicked into place. The possessiveness, the guilt trips whenever I spent time with other people, the way she'd subtly sabotage every relationship I had, the way she'd act cold whenever I seemed happy without her. I felt sick. Tyler kept trying to apologize, but I couldn't even look at him anymore. I told him to get out of my house. He tried saying he loved me, which honestly almost made me laugh again, because what kind of person destroys someone they love? Eventually he left, and the second the front door closed, I completely collapsed. I ended up sitting on my kitchen floor until sunrise, staring at nothing. My mind kept replaying every memory differently now. Every comforting hug from Ava felt fake. Every late-night conversation felt poisoned. I realized I genuinely didn't know who she was anymore. Around 8 a.m. in the morning, my phone buzzed. It was Ava. "Good morning, loser. Brunch today?" I actually felt my stomach turn reading that. She had no idea I knew everything. For a second, I thought about confronting her immediately, sending screenshots, exposing everything, but another part of me wanted answers first. I needed to understand how long this had been happening. I needed to hear her explain it to my face. So instead, I replied normally, "Yeah, sure." The next few hours felt unreal. I showered, got dressed, and drove to the cafe feeling completely disconnected from my own body. The whole time, my chest felt tight with panic. Part of me hoped there was still some explanation that would magically make this less horrible. But the second I saw Ava sitting there smiling at me through the cafe window, I realized something terrifying. I didn't recognize her anymore. And somehow she looked completely normal, calm, happy, like she hadn't spent the last year secretly tearing my life apart piece by piece. I walked inside anyway, and what happened next honestly scared me more than the messages did. The second I sat down across from Ava, she smiled at me like nothing had changed, like she hadn't spent the last year manipulating every relationship in my life behind my back. She pushed an iced coffee toward me and said, "You look tired. Did you and Tyler fight again?" That sentence alone almost broke me, because now I could hear it differently. Before, it would have sounded caring. Now it sounded calculated, like she was checking whether her little game was still working. I stared at her for a few seconds too long, and for the first time in years, she looked slightly uncomfortable. "What?" She laughed nervously. "Why are you looking at me like that?" I wanted to scream. I wanted to throw the coffee in her face, but instead I forced myself to stay calm because I needed answers more than I needed revenge. So I smiled and said, "Nothing, I'm just tired." The entire brunch felt surreal. Ava kept talking normally, while I sat there silently realizing how fake every expression on her face looked. She complained about school, talked about some influencer drama online, laughed about a teacher she hated, and every few minutes she'd casually ask questions about Tyler. "Did he text you back yet? Is he still acting weird? You know you deserve better, right?" It honestly made me sick. At one point, she reached across the table and grabbed my hand and said, "You know I'll always be here for you," she said softly. And I swear to God, I almost started crying right there in the cafe, not because I believed her anymore, but because part of me still wanted to. That was the worst part of everything. Even after seeing proof, some broken piece of me still missed my best friend. Then Ava said something that changed the entire conversation. She looked at me carefully and asked, "Did Tyler tell you anything last night?" My chest tightened instantly, but I forced myself to shrug casually. "Like what?" For a split second, I saw panic flash across her face. Tiny, barely noticeable, but it was there. Then she smiled again. "Nothing, he was just acting weird yesterday." That's when I realized she was scared. Not guilty, not sorry, scared. And suddenly I understood something important. Ava didn't think she was the villain. She genuinely believed she had control over everything. Over me, over Tyler, over every situation. She thought I'd never figure it out because she'd spent years training me to doubt myself first. So I decided not to confront her yet. Instead, I started pretending everything was normal while secretly gathering proof. Honestly, that next week was one of the hardest weeks of my life. Every conversation felt fake. Every text from Ava made my skin crawl. But I needed evidence because I knew if I exposed her without it, nobody would believe me. Ava was too good at playing the victim. So I started screenshotting everything. Every manipulative message, every weird contradiction, every rumor people repeated back to me. Tyler kept texting and apologizing nonstop, too. At first, I ignored him completely, but eventually I realized he might actually be useful. So I met him one more time. The second I saw him, I felt angry all over again. He looked exhausted. His eyes were red-shot like he hadn't slept in days. He kept apologizing over and over while we sat in his car outside a grocery store parking lot. "I know I'm a terrible person," he said quietly. "I just didn't realize how bad it got." I almost laughed at that. "You watched her ruin my college stuff." "I know. You let people think I cheated on you." "I know. You both made me feel insane." That one finally made him cry. And honestly, watching him cry didn't make me feel better. It just made me tired, completely emotionally exhausted. Then Tyler admitted something else. Apparently, Ava had been lying to him too. Not about everything, but enough to keep him trapped in her manipulation. Tyler told me Ava constantly claimed I talked badly about him behind my back. She'd show him edited screenshots or repeat fake conversations where I supposedly called him controlling or boring.
Tyler said whenever he tried pulling away from Ava, she'd threaten to expose private things about both of us or imply I was emotionally unstable and couldn't handle abandonment. "She always made it sound like she was protecting you," he whispered. That sentence stuck with me because I think that's exactly how Ava justified everything to herself. She wanted control so badly that she convinced herself manipulation was love. Before I left, Tyler handed me his phone and said, "There's more stuff on there. Take screenshots of whatever you need." I stared at him for a long time before taking it. Part of me hated him, but another part realized he looked almost as emotionally wrecked as I felt. That night, I spent 4 straight hours going through their messages, and the deeper I dug, the worse it got. I found out Ava had secretly logged into my social media accounts multiple times because I reused old passwords she knew. She deleted messages from people she didn't like. She blocked one girl from my account because she thought we were getting too close. She even messaged one guy pretending to be me and told him I wasn't interested anymore. Suddenly, years of failed friendships made horrifying sense. Then I found the messages about my mom. That part completely shattered me. A few months earlier, my mom randomly sat me down and asked if I was using drugs. I remember crying because it felt so random and hurtful. Apparently, Ava told my mom she was worried about me because I'd been acting emotionally unstable and secretive. She literally planted concerns in my own mom's head while pretending to care about me. I had to stop reading after that because I genuinely felt like I couldn't breathe. At around midnight, my phone buzzed again. "Ava, you've been distant lately." I stared at the message for a long time before replying. "Just stressed." 3 dots appeared instantly. "You know you can tell me anything, right?" That sentence made my stomach twist so violently I almost threw my phone across the room. The next morning at school, things got even worse. I walked into the hallway and immediately felt people staring at me. At first, I thought I was imagining it, but then one girl literally whispered, "That's her," while looking directly at me. My chest tightened with panic. Something was wrong again. Then one of my friends pulled me aside and asked quietly, "Are you okay?" I said yes automatically, but she looked hesitant. "Ava told people you and Tyler broke up because you got physical during an argument." I froze. "What?" She said she didn't want to spread it around, but she was worried about him. I genuinely thought I was going to faint. Even after everything, Ava was still doing it. I skipped the rest of school that day and drove around for almost 2 hours, trying not to completely lose it mentally. I remember sitting in my car outside a gas station crying so hard my chest hurt. I kept thinking the same thing over and over. Why? Why would someone who claimed to love me enjoy destroying me this much? Then I got another message, but this time it wasn't from Ava. It was from a girl named Emily I barely talked to anymore. "We need to talk about Ava." My stomach instantly dropped. Apparently, Emily and Ava used to be close before I became best friends with her. We met that evening at a small park near my neighborhood, and the second Emily sat beside me, she looked nervous. I don't know how to say this without sounding insane. Try me. Then Emily told me something horrifying. I wasn't the first person Ava had done this to. Back in middle school, Ava had another best friend named Rachel. According to Emily, the friendship ended after Rachel accused Ava of sabotaging her relationships and spreading rumors about her. Nobody believed Rachel because Ava convinced everyone she was jealous and dramatic. Eventually, Rachel transferred schools completely. I felt ice run through my entire body listening to this. Emily looked at me carefully before saying, "When you and Ava became close, she suddenly stopped talking about Rachel completely, like she replaced her." Replaced her. That word echoed in my head the entire drive home, because suddenly this didn't feel random anymore. It felt like a pattern. That night, I finally decided I was done being scared. I made a private folder with every screenshot, voice note, and message I had collected. I sent copies to myself, Tyler, and even my cousin, just in case Ava somehow tried deleting things. Then I made one final decision. I was going to confront her. Not through text, not through some dramatic social media post, face to face. And deep down, I think Ava knew it was coming, because about 20 minutes before I planned to leave my house, my phone rang. It was her. I answered silently. For a few seconds, neither of us spoke. Then Ava whispered something that made every hair on my arms stand up. "You went through his phone, didn't you?"
The second Ava said, "You went through his phone, didn't you?" my entire body went cold. Her voice sounded calm, but underneath it I could hear panic slipping through. For a moment I didn't answer. I just sat there gripping my phone so tightly my hand hurt. Then I quietly said, "You lied to me for years." Silence. I heard her breathing on the other end of the line, shaky and uneven now. Then she laughed softly, but it sounded forced. "You don't understand what actually happened." That sentence instantly made me angry again, not because she was denying it, but because even now she was trying to control the narrative. I stood up so fast my chair scraped across the floor. "No," I snapped. "I understand perfectly. You destroyed my relationships, messed with my college, spread rumors about me, manipulated my mom, and somehow you still think you're the victim?" Another silence. Then she whispered, "Can we please talk in person?" I should have said no, honestly. Every logical part of my brain screamed not to go. But after years of confusion and emotional damage, I needed closure. I needed to look her in the eyes and hear the truth directly from her mouth. So an hour later, I was sitting in Ava's car outside the lake near our town while rain hit the windshield softly around us. It felt surreal being there. We'd spent so many nights parked in that exact spot talking about our futures, our fears, the people we wanted to become someday. Now I was sitting beside someone who felt like a complete stranger. Ava looked awful. Her mascara was smeared, and her hands kept trembling against the steering wheel. For the first few minutes, neither of us spoke. Then she suddenly burst into tears. "I didn't mean for it to get this bad," she whispered. I stared at her in disbelief. "You didn't mean for what to get bad? Which part exactly?" She covered her face with both hands. "I was scared." That answer made me furious. Scared of what? Losing you. I laughed bitterly and shook my head. "You lost me the second you decided ruining my life was easier than being honest." Ava started crying harder after that. Real crying, too, not fake dramatic tears. Her entire body was shaking. But even then, I couldn't comfort her anymore. Something inside me had finally snapped. Then she started confessing everything. Apparently, her jealousy toward me started years earlier, around the time I began dating Tyler and talking seriously about leaving for college. She admitted she hated how easily people seemed to connect with me while she constantly felt invisible. She said every time someone chose me first, it made her feel abandoned all over again. "I know it sounds insane," she whispered, staring at the dashboard, "but sometimes I felt like if your life got too good, you wouldn't need me anymore." I felt this horrible ache in my chest hearing that because part of me understood the fear. I really did. But understanding someone's pain doesn't erase what they did to you. So I quietly asked the question that had been haunting me for days. "Did you ever actually care about me?" Ava immediately looked at me with tears streaming down her face. "Of course I did." "Then how could you do this to me?" She opened her mouth, but no words came out. And honestly, that silence answered everything. Because there was no explanation good enough, no traumatic backstory or hidden feelings that justified months of manipulation and emotional abuse. She made choices, over and over again. And every time she had the chance to stop, she chose not to. Then Ava admitted something that genuinely scared me. She said there were multiple times she almost confessed everything, but stopped because she liked how dependent I'd become on her. She liked being the person I cried to after problems she secretly created herself. She liked feeling needed. The second she said that, I felt physically sick. I opened the car door immediately because I genuinely couldn't sit beside her anymore. Rain poured onto my hoodie as I stepped outside, but I didn't even care. Ava jumped out after me, crying hysterically now. "Please don't leave like this," she begged. I turned around slowly and looked at her standing there in the rain. "You already left," I said quietly.
a long time ago. Then I walked away. I wish I could say that was the end of everything, but real life doesn't work like movies. The aftermath was messy, horribly messy. Once people found out the truth, the entire situation exploded online and at school. Tyler finally admitted publicly that the cheating rumors were fake, which helped a little, but by then my reputation already felt destroyed. Some people apologized for believing lies, others acted awkward around me because they didn't know what to say, and a few people still defended Ava because she was incredibly good at making herself look broken and misunderstood. But the hardest part wasn't losing friends. It was realizing how badly the manipulation affected me mentally. For months afterwards, I questioned every interaction I had with people. If someone took too long to text back, I panicked. If two friends laughed quietly near me, I automatically assumed they were talking about me. Ava had spent so long twisting my reality that my brain stopped trusting itself. I started therapy a few weeks later after having a panic attack in a grocery store parking lot. At first, I felt embarrassed about it, but honestly, therapy probably saved me. Because for the first time, someone explained what happened wasn't normal friendship drama, it was emotional abuse. Hearing those words out loud changed something inside me. My therapist helped me understand why I ignored red flags for so long, why manipulation works slowly, why toxic people don't usually destroy your life at once. They do it piece by piece until confusion feels normal. And weirdly enough, Tyler ended up going to therapy too. We never got back together, obviously. There was too much damage, too much betrayal. But months later, he sent me a long apology message admitting he'd become emotionally dependent on Ava's approval, too. He said being around her constantly felt like walking on glass because she always knew exactly what to say to make people feel guilty or responsible for her emotions. I forgave him eventually, not because he deserved it, but because carrying that anger forever was exhausting. Ava disappeared completely after graduation. She deleted most of her social media and moved to another state with a relative, from what I heard. The last thing she ever sent me was a paragraph at 3 a.m. saying she was sorry for loving me in the wrong way. I stared at that message for a long time before deleting it. Because love should never leave someone emotionally destroyed. The craziest part is that even now, sometimes I still miss her. Not the real Ava, obviously. I miss the version of her I thought existed. The girl I stayed awake with during sleepovers talking about our futures. The girl I held while I cried after my first heartbreak. The girl I trusted more than anyone. But that girl was never fully real. And accepting that honestly hurt more than the betrayal itself. A year later, I finally moved to Chicago. Not because everything magically got fixed overnight, but because I refused to let someone else's jealousy decide my future. The first night I spent alone in my apartment there, I sat beside the window watching city lights flicker outside, while realizing something strange. For the first time in years, my life felt quiet. No drama, no manipulation, no constant anxiety about whether someone secretly hated me. Just silence. Healthy silence. And honestly, I almost cried from relief. Sometimes people ask me how I didn't notice what Ava was doing sooner. The truth is, when someone slowly poisons your reality every single day, eventually confusion becomes your normal. You stop trusting your instincts. You stop questioning things because the manipulator always has an explanation ready. That's why this whole experience changed me permanently. Now I pay attention to how people make me feel after I leave a room. Drained people are dangerous. People who isolate you from others are dangerous. People who create chaos, then comfort you afterwards, are dangerous. And if there's one thing I learned from all of this, it's that not every person who says I love you actually loves you in a healthy way. Some people just love controlling you. And honestly, that's way scarier. But yeah, that's the end of today's Reddit story. If you made it this far, comment what you honestly think about Ava, because I still can't fully process everything she did. And if you've ever had a toxic friendship or someone secretly sabotage your life, I genuinely love to hear your story too. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories, and I'll see you guys in the next one.